Action.
There we go. Yeah, we're going to talk about Aristotle and his contribution to writing, which is everything really, because before then it was totally different.
Aristotele.
He Aristotle came up with the six components of drama, which was before then it was kind of a cluster fuck, and it was so he came up with the six components of drama, which was number one, uh, plot the arrangement of incidents, which is pretty much we'll go over them. Two is have characters. Number three, diction modes of utterance, which we'll talk about. Thoughts and ideas and themes behind a story, which is very important. Five is spectacle, which includes sets, costumes, and effects. And then six is song back, because then dramas were all performed in song. So that's what he came up with, which was pretty interesting stuff because he actually just broke everything down into you know everything that was needed to be known. So it really comes down to plot, thought, character, diction, music, and spectacle. Those are really the most important ones. Um, with plot, I think the biggest thing he came up with, Aristotle, was this: that all good theater had to have a plot, had to have a story, and that it must have a beginning, middle, and end. And it had to be both logical and credible. Those are the two things that were pretty damn important. Because without a beginning, middle, and end, you kind of have a cluster. Uh, and it also he came up with, it really should have an overall theme, and it should have a meaning. And I think a lot of writers don't write with theme in mind, or they lose track of the theme in the process of their writing. What do you think about that, Mike?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, he was used to writing, complex things, multi-layered stories, and the whole thing about Aristotle and the three-act structure, beginning, middle, and end, is about, like they say in Greek, organasi, organization, and what is a film? Any film that comes out, it only happens because of the organization. So any storytelling, otherwise, like you said, it's all over the place. Keeping it, you know, well developed and watching what exactly the story's motivations are. You know, as complex as they might be, it's all about keeping everything in order and knowing what your goal is. If you start writing it and you already know your beginning, middle, and end, you know where you've got to go. So having a journey where you're just wandering and not knowing what's happening, that's
Yeah,
where you lose specialty. I mean, wasn't it him that come up with the inciting incident too?
I'm not sure about
I'm not
that.
sure about that, but it's like that's the same thing. It's like, hey, yeah, you're starting to tell a story. I think we've all seen things or read things that, your mind starts to wander because nothing specific is happening. You don't have that incident that happens. And so I think what Aristotle brings to all of it is to keep it organized and
He said it must be identifiable. The theme must be identifiable and it must serve a purpose to the plot. If your theme is not serving a purpose to the plot, then you either have the wrong plot or your theme is not correct for the plot. And that's a big deal. So I
right.
think that's always something I teach writers, even in sketch comedy. You have to have a theme. The theme is not sketch comedy. You still have to be telling a story. You have to be saying something with the sketch. So that's something, even in a 5-page sketch, you have to have a theme. And that's
Right.
something that a lot of sketch writers really don't know. So the next one is character, and
Ah,
that's a big deal. Um, he really believed that character deals with credibility and the believability that the characters um, they must have relationship to each other, and that's another thing we do with improv. With improv, we try to make each character know each other at least 6 months because it's easier to have relationship with somebody if they know each other. Um, my dog is going crazy here. Sorry. um, yeah, character is everything, and that's where Theo comes in, and we'll talk about that too today if we have time, because that's a whole other, that's a whole other thing. We can talk about it. I guess we have time. Um, so yeah, character is the next one, and then diction modes
Rich,
of
I don't mean to interrupt. Can I ask a question about character real quick?
yeah, sure.
I've been, of the mindset or belief that we have to care about the character and to some degree make the audience care about them. How do you feel about that issue on the topic of character, and how important do you think that is in terms of sculpting your character?
I don't think we have to care. We don't have to like them. We can dislike them and care in that way also. But we have to have some sort of connection to them, wouldn't you say, Mike?
Yeah, I do. It's like, first of all, you have to know them. Like one of the things that we're doing, we'd started to put it together. We'll have it for the future classes, based on Aristotle and Theophrastus or Theo. Sorry, Greek jokes just pop out. Can't help it. About creating a villain. It's like everybody always has to, your protagonist and your antagonist. So everybody always wants to make the villain an antagonist. I love the way he sets it up so nobody the 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 villain to be the protagonist. I always love that, when that happens. So, like you think of look at Walter White. I hate using Breaking Bad all the time. He's a good guy. He's a nice guy. You don't see him as being the protagonist. You see him being the antagonist. But he ends up like a serious drug lord. So it's like that's the molding of him. When you're doing it in fantasy or like in the comic world too, that's the same thing. It's like Aristotle says, his belief is that there is no inherent evil. Nobody's born evil. That they need an incident to get them there, whether it's a physical thing, a physical deformity that is being made fun of, like there's a way to say it in Greek, like sanchazos of those, like there's something wrong with this guy. He's an idiot. And if somebody sees that character flaw in the guy, he's got a crooked eye or a lip, they used to scorn him really bad. And so, those afflictions, those body afflictions used to make it that person ended up a bad guy, because of the ridicule that he took. Well, it could be anything. It could be something in their childhood, something bad. But he always felt that they weren't that way. Other schools of thought is, hey, you know what? Sometimes it's just a bad seed. I knew people that were just bad from the get-go, that there's nothing redeeming about them. But that's Aristotle's way of looking at things. And so he feels that you need, some sort of to create a depth in a villain, you need, what's his motivation? What got him there? What was his existence about other than just being a bad guy?
And Aristotle always thought that back then all characters all protagonists must have a flaw, and that flaw would be their downfall. That was back then. Because a lot of the things that he wrote back then, the protagonist would always take a fall, would not necessarily succeed, which try to sell that in Hollywood now. That's not going to that doesn't work too much. But so yeah, so characters are three-dimensional.
There's a TV series right now that's been out with, and I can't think of any of the names of the actors in it. You'd recognize them, but it's called Killing Eve, and the one agent is just little by little by little is enamored over the killing of the killings that this one hit woman is doing. That she's a contract killer, but she's actually a psychopath that was raised to be that way by the Russians. And so, but she idolizes her, and little by little, she's becoming her, and that's in that same vein. It's like, it's a gradual change. And what I'm on the third season of it now. There's 4 seasons. The change is so gradual that when things happen and she bursts out and something happened the first time that she crossed the line, it's so unexpected. It's nobody wants to expect what you're going to see. You want to be tickled. I one of my biggest critics is my wife. And she says, I'm getting bored. You need something here, or it's like, whoa, that you threw too much too fast. So it's neat. Like the whole evil conqueror thing.
We can. I mean, Mike and I can do a whole so many hours on character, but there are a couple of things that a character, because this isn't necessarily a character workshop, but there are certain things each character must have because human beings have them, and each human being has secrets. Each human being has a secret. Your character must have a secret that helps define who they are, and each character must have a flaw because we're all flawed. Those are two things. Yeah, two things that each character must have. And when writing characters, I like writing my character bios at 6 years old, 16 years old, and present day. And for each one of those character bios, I like giving them a defining moment that has changed their life. In real life, you could say, at 6 years old or 8 years old, my parents got divorced. That was a defining moment. I'm making this up. At 14 years old, I lost my brother in a car accident. That's a defining moment. So we all have defining
Batman,
moments.
Bruce Wayne loses his parents. Defining moment, as a child.
So all characters as human beings have defining moments that help shape who we are. So those are at least some of the things that you want to look at when creating characters. And again, characters are three-dimensional. They have to be physical, spiritual, and emotional. And again, the spiritual is not religion, it's point of view, how the character sees life. And everything is funneled, everything you write must be funneled through that point of view. Everything. Or else it's out of character, right? You've heard somebody say that.
Yeah.
The neighbor next door who whacks, 50 people in their basement, and they interview the neighbor. Well, that I didn't he was a quiet man. Well, that was out of character.
He gave candy to the kids every holiday.
So yeah, you want to make sure that you understand the character's point of view. That's the spiritual end of it. Every line of dialogue is funneled through that. So then I just want. So we're gonna go. We'll do more on this stuff. I mean, God, we can do a weekend just on character, which that's a workshop we should really put together. But I just want to get through Aristotle today because there's just so much. The next thing that he talked about, which I thought was important, was diction. And what that means, I can find my notes here. Oh yeah. So when he talks about diction, he's talking about when he talks about diction, he's talking about in the writing, the writer must write a meaningful statement, something that the audience can understand. The second thing is the writer must write something with a purpose to inform the audience. And the third thing with diction is for the actor that you're saying something that causes the actor to be able to act. Those are the three things that he's talking about when he says diction. So again, it's something that makes the audience understand, the hearer understand. The second thing is saying something with purpose to inform. And the third one is saying something that causes someone to act. The character, I say the actor, but it's the character really.
Hello?
Dramatic pause.
Did I lose you? We lose Rich?
I'm here.
Oh,
Okay.
I went blank. Sorry.
Make sure you guys have notes, taking notes. This fourth one was music. Again, I say music because it is part of the whole show. But back then, all the lines was saying.
Rich, could you amplify a little bit onto act as part of that?
Well, I always think I automatically go into the actors, something the actors can play. So saying something that causes someone to act basically means something that the dialogue will help move forward. So when you're writing that the action will move forward, it causes them to act to move forward. So your dialogue should move forward when you write. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Your action should always move forward, not backwards when you write.
No, that's helpful. Thanks.
Yeah.
And that also touches on the three virtues, right? The three virtues theory.
Yeah, you can talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about that. That's good.
I mean, the whole thing on, let's see, what were those? How did it worded? It's courage, temperance, and justice. The represent the golden mean between the extremes, and meaning acting and moderation, the face of fear, courage, controlling your desires, temperance, um, treating others fairly, like justice. So writing those into that has to be put into your story along with that. So it's like whichever way you take it. Like I said, I love the way you can build villains, with Aristotle and Theophrastus's modelings,
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's that same thing. So those are three other functions that you have to have with that. The doctrine of mean, and it's not being mean, but that's what it's called.
Yeah. So after music, the last one of his six components is just spectacle, and which all he means about that is the visual aspects of theater, which is just costume, scenery, other elements that make a production visual.
I mean, and that's and you take in consider he called it spectacle. That's what the Romans and the Greeks called anything that was taking place in the arena was a spectacle. It's like you want to watch more. I want to see that guy get his head cut off. I want to see that that story. It's a spectacle.
So now, if we look at these things now, how do we put these into movies and television today? You still can. They all still work, right?
Yeah, it's all part of all storytelling. Every novel, every graphic novel, every TV show, every movie, and then using it in action and drama is even more heightened. Even in comedy, it's still same formula.
They're all the same. We use all six of his components of drama for everything to this day. Which is pretty impressive. you know. And if you put Mike Nichols, which I believe in, Mike Nichols said there were only three types of scenes, and I really believe it because I've researched it.
Yeah, that's right. Go ahead, say it.
There's only three types of scenes. There's a fight, there's a negotiation, and there's a seduction. Those are the only three types of scenes. So when you write, think about that. Am I writing a fight, a negotiation, or a seduction? Some can be a fight can turn into a seduction. Negotiation negotiation can turn into a fight. So it can turn into one can turn into the other. But at the end of the day, there's only three types of scenes.
Right.
And for actors, it's imperative to understand that when you audition. When you understand there's only three types of scenes, you're taking a lot of pressure off yourself.
Interesting.
So, and that also helps you when you're trying to understand what kind of story you're trying to write. And more importantly, once you write that, what are you trying to sell? Right? Because then you can tie that into genre also. Hi, fellas. Just like looking into, feel like I'm looking into an oil painting. Any questions? Questions or comments?
Hey, you got any questions, Scott? With us,
Well,
I
Scott.
wanted to throw out a thought of you touched on it earlier. It's I guess intertwined in all this is the inciting incident dynamic and how that. Just wanted to get your views on that, really from both of you, as to is there a set time for that, or is it just part of the story that obviously accelerates it, that moves it in the right direction? Just curious what your views are on that.
Well,
go ahead, Mike.
yeah, I mean, it's an event that sets the plot in motion, by forcing the main character to react to a change in their life. So, I mean, you want that to happen within the first few pages, really. I mean, it really gets the story moving. Wouldn't you say like around 9-10 at least?
Yeah, you want to get it out as quick as possible, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I thought my mic was muted.
And
No,
do
you're
you
fine.
do you feel that that's what's making the viewer, to a great extent, want to stay with the story and stay tuned in?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's like, hey, look, um, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Great movie, for its time. I mean, it's a wonderful movie. I still love watching it. Fistful of dollars. Not much dialogue. Right away you get you to get this, but the pace is so slow. It's so slow now. I mean, for me, I can't handle a slow story. What's another one? I mean, visually, this movie was great. The American with George Clooney. It was a great story. I mean, it was a great novel in 1962. I wanted to pull my hair out sitting in the theater. Everything was moving so slowly. You waited for something to happen. I mean, it was like there was literally 10 minutes of him, setting his gun and then watching him exercise for 6 minutes. It's like, shit, he's 50 years old. How was he bending his body like that? Hey, great, that's cool. I mean, it's but it's like what's happening? And I lost my attention span. There's so many movies like that don't get you into it. Um, I need constant stimulation. I like to have, even when Rich and I are writing comedy, it's like you could set music to it.
Just remember, the inciting incident is different than the first turning point.
Right, that's true.
The inciting incident, like say, with Star Wars, is like when Darth Vader attacks the Princess Leia's ship.
Mm-hmm.
That's the inciting incident. If you think about the Sixth Sense, it's the gunshot, the attack of Vincent on Malcolm. That's the inciting incident. So it happens early. Has to happen early, because then the turning point, the first turning point, is going to then take that and shift.
That's before you step into your second act, right?
Yeah.
What's really relevant to the story, thank you very much, because it's so relevant to the story I'm working on right now, is that when you use the term turning point, because I see my inciting incident and the turning point not too far away from each other, but distinctly different concepts. So
They're both going to happen. They're both going to happen in the first act.
Yep. Yeah, they do.
Yeah. 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 But I always go back to Aristotle. I always make sure that I have those 6 elements in my work, and I always go back to using things like that. And more of his, I have other things that he's said and done that I use as a checkpoint and checklist.
What list the 6 again?
Well, you've got plot. Oh, the first one you have is plot, the arrangement of incidents. The second one is character. The third one is diction. The fourth one is thought and ideas and themes. The fifth one is spectacle. The fifth one is fourth one is thought. Fifth one is spectacle, and the sixth one is song back and music.
I mean, you see when you see the rough cut, like we're looking at the rough cut for Nick's movie, and it's so empty when there's no music. What is it? Broke English. When I saw a couple of the scenes with the suggested music that's in there from the guy that's doing the score, wow, what a difference it made in it. Otherwise, it's the scene is kind of mundane, without the music, without the sound. I mean, it's like a lot of it. If you watch it, a movie that Rich loved, I loathed it. I loathed it. You and Tina loved it. Mickey and I hated it. It was called The Artist. I wanted to stab myself in the eye.
Yeah, I loved it.
But yeah, it's like it's too, for me. It's like if I don't have sound and music with it doesn't work for me.
But it was full of music.
No, I'm saying like the speaking. I need the
Oh,
that's it.
yeah,
Just didn't work for me.
yeah. See, I
Not
love
that it was
silent.
wrong. I just I can't stand it.
See, I love silent movies. I love Chaplin. I don't need the words. I hate words actually. I don't like words.
I like less on the dialogue. I hate chatty.
Yeah,
Like Steve Jobs, the movie Steve Jobs. Oh
yeah.
my God. It's like, shut up. It was just, and it was a great movie,
Hey.
but it was just like, it was too much dialogue.
If as an
Hey.
actor, if I didn't have to act words again,
Hey,
I'd be fine with that.
the Steve Jobs movie, that producer, I met him at the Curious Refuge. He was a guest speaker.
Oh, no
And
kidding.
yeah, yeah, he did a couple other things, but yeah, I didn't like that movie either, actually. To be honest.
He probably spoke too long.
Yeah, he did actually,
Did he really?
and he wanted anyone to pitch to him, come talk to him, and he'd be glad to talk to him. I'm like, yeah, you talk too long, right? Anyway,
You can tell a good movie if you shut the sound off. You should be able to tell the movie without hearing a word, and that's a fact.
That's
And
true.
I'll debate anybody on that. You can be
I,
able to watch a movie you've never seen, shut the sound, and you should be able to follow that movie and not even hear a word.
soap operas from Telemundo. I love them. I don't know what they're saying. There might be a reason behind that, but
Because
I love
movies are a visual art. It's visual. It's a visual art. You need words in theater. You don't need a lot of words in movies and television. You just don't. Television sitcoms you do, but in film you don't. Less is more. Remember that.
Less is more.
Less is more.
It's true.
Well, 12:30, my
So-
brothers.
Thank you so much. I turned off my camera because I'm just a mess, honestly. But I I gotta say that this is really important right now because I'm starting to reboot my I've got my class and I've got to reboot the story stuff. And it's actually been good in some ways because I've gone through a lot of conflict and a lot of resolution. And I think that when I was looking at my story, I thought I had a lot of conflict and resolution in it, but actually it was really not that much difficulty there.
Right.
The kind of character I'm trying to build should be much stronger than the kind of challenges I had in the story. Because they really seem like more like, after listening today, just not enough. Like, you're trying to make this really strong character, but I'm not making the challenge or the amount of inner fortitude he would need to overcome the challenge big enough to make someone be impressed to be like, holy shit, he's going to do it. Like, I want that moment. Like, oh no, is he really going to do this? Like, I can't believe it. Like, it's too much. Like, you're not going to make it. And that kind of feeling, right? It's kind of what you're, to get that. I can't believe this is unbelievable. I got to see what he can't do that. And I just don't feel like, after listening today, I just don't feel like I have that. So I'm just going to kind of rework the whole thing, I think. But thank you a lot for the insights today, guys.
We always tell actors when they're looking for a character objective, something the character you need to get, you have to find it, almost make it life and death. Then it's interesting to watch. So I think about
through a life and death just, recently. It wasn't really, okay, it wasn't, but it's a life-changing event, let's just say.
what did we just tell? What did we just go through today? What would like teach just now with Mike? Everybody has what? Remember I said 16 in present day? What happens?
Yeah.
What do we have? What happened? Remember what I said? What did I say? Anybody? Bueller? Anyone? What did I say? No one. We're not leaving till one of you fuckers get this.
That
Yeah. Things
6 or
change.
7
Things change in our life, and
things
things
change in
happen.
our life.
Things happen in our life that change who we are.
Right. That's what I was getting
Right.
at.
And for you, that's a mess. That's a massive thing that happened. That is a massive thing that you
Yeah,
went through.
and I thought I'd had massive things in my life, and now I'm like, I'm not really. Like, not compared. It's different. I guess that's the thing. You can have massive things and just a different perspective on it, right?
It
And I
depends
think
on it depends on your age too, right? When you're 14 and you have your first massive breakup and you're dying in your bedroom and your heart's broken, that's massive at the time,
right,
right? Right? Then, but
Yeah,
then, then you lose a spouse, right? When you're 50 years old, it's different, right?
totally,
But at the
totally,
time, it's the same pain.
yeah.
You
It's
know, pain.
but the universal, you have to, like you said, you have to touch that universal nerve that people understand universally, not just my own personal experience. It's transposing that idea into that universal, everyone gets it kind of thing. That's the tricky part for me on some of the stories I'm writing, because I just don't understand what I'm doing, but that's why I'm here. So anyway, thanks a lot for
But
helping.
but here's the good news, real quick, is that everybody's felt pain.
Right.
Yeah. So
You shouldn't, and then you shouldn't try to discuss or to decide how much pain they have or haven't had. You can just discuss the universal truth of pain. Yeah.
that's you got it, brother.
And on top of
awesome.
all that, you can grab that, the 500 questions to ask your fictional character,
Yeah.
and use some of that to go ahead and build the character and say, hey, it may not show up in the actual words of your story, but it'll show up in their character. I tested that out. By the way, Italy Boys, I grabbed some of the backstories and profiles, and I threw it. I wanted to throw it with the formula of our 500 questions, and I threw that at an AI, and oh my God, it got it. It totally got it. So I mean, we hit what we hit. It wrote because it didn't see the script.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, it was like built on that backstory. It created an opening scene that was almost identical to what we wrote, and it did not see it because I did not share the script.
Right.
So, but based on that backstory, it created almost an identical scene to what we wrote, you and I and Frank. It was just, it's just amazing. So that formula for the 500 questions works, even if it sticks with all the rules of words to film by, and it really helps as a tool. I think even for you, Scott, and you Ted, with your stories, those questions really help you dig deep. In your one story, Teddy, that's more historic, of people that that you'll never be able to interview, but some of those things of their background.
Right.
You'll be able to throw those questions and somewhat know how to answer them. With you, Scott, with your story that you're building over there, the same deal. It's like, anything goes for yours because you can turn it any way you want.
Yeah, but it isn't it maybe interesting to try to select kind of base modeling, right, as part of Plato and stuff too, right? Modeling, finding some character in the history to kind of base some of your own characters on that's totally legit, right?
Oh yeah, that totally. Yeah, I mean, it's like you could take a historic figure and do that. Why not?
As you're trying to, to help, like, in Ted's case, he actually knows exactly who these people are, but in a fictional case, kind of like if he was here, maybe it just helps get the things going. And I can think, oh, it's kind of like Genghis Khan, but with a little bit of Dick Tracy,
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, that's a riot to do.
And
just to get off the blank page, you know what I mean? Just to start writing about the character and go through the 500 questions. And then I got through like the first couple the first bit, and then the thing happened. So I got to reboot.
And you know what? You don't have to ask all 500 questions. It helps you model it. You know,
No, I know, but I still want to build that tool for us that you could just sit here and interview yourself and just go through it and just kind of work through it. Because I think it'd be a really great exercise to just sit there and just,
I think
walking
it
down
would
the
be.
street, you can make a little app just for that. And anyway, hey
Did
guys,
any-
it's the time box. We should wrap it up so we
yeah,
can
yeah.
say
Wrapping it
good
up,
for
I'm just
publishing.
curious if anyone had saw. It's an older movie with Dominic Cooper called Abraham Lincoln, the Vampire Slayer.
Of course, are you kidding?
Dude,
Like the best
it's-
movie ever. That's
it's
historical fact, dude. It's all about the silver. What are you
I know,
talking
but
about?
it stayed so on character with Abraham Lincoln.
What do you mean? It's all about silver. Watch the movie.
I know, it's great. I love that movie.
And thanks for helping me separate inciting incident from turning point. That's really helpful for me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that was
awesome.
good.
Just get it out there. Yeah, get it out there, man. Get it the
Act
faster you
one.
get it
Act
out there.
one.
You got it.
All right, guys. Thank you
Thanks,
so
guys.
much.
See you
All right,
guys. Thank
awesome.
you. Good
Take
job,
care.
guys.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you.
Awesome.